Tag TV and Tag Radio be seen and heard by both technology users and technology producers throughout the state of Georgia and around the world. Low cost, big benefits, powerhouse online branded video and audio has arrived. Tag TV, Tag Radio, there's a lot more to know. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. No one would deny that Microsoft is a world-class software company or that Apple is a world-class smart device manufacturer. But what does world-class mean? Goods, services, processes ranked by customers and industry experts to be among, well, the best of the best. Standard setting in excellence, value, and most important, customer satisfaction when compared with things similar from anywhere else in the world. Greetings, everyone. Happy New Year. It's January 3rd, 2012, and this is our annual First of the Year Tech Talk, Tag Review and Perspective, as we speak with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantella. I'm your guest host, Frank Baia. Tag status as the state's premier technology association is undisputed, ending the year with over 14,500 members, thousands of companies, and some 30 societies, and growing. A new chapter in Savannah, many new initiatives, including the State Science and Technology Commission and the Where Georgia Leads campaign, not to mention the industry's most revered annual statewide events, the Georgia Technology Summit and Excalibur Awards, plus nearly 200 more events throughout the year. National experts and industry leaders are rapidly recognizing TAG as a world-class membership organization and a key engine for economic growth. Up to the Tech Talk special annual First of the Year Review and Perspective, a focus on effective execution of supporting member personal and professional growth, the development of our state's technology stakeholders, and the fostering of a rich environment for business expansion in the new year, as we speak with our TAG president, Tino Mantella. Tino, welcome to Tech Talk.
Hey, thanks, Frank.
Well, I guess it's we get to do this every once in a while where we switch around and you're on the mic and not doing the interview but actually being interviewed. But I think it's a subject that I got a feeling you'll be able to handle quite easily. Especially
I like you being able on that other side. So thanks for.
Especially talking about TAG, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, listen, I know that we use a lot of advertising and marketing efforts, a lot of communications with our e-alerts and other alerts that go out to our members. We talk a lot about building community and also talking about educating and promoting and uniting. Let's talk a little bit about 2011, before we leave. And talk a little bit about some of the things that happened last year before we begin to migrate into what we're talking about as far as 2012.
Well, we're proud of a lot of things. It's great to be in an industry that actually is on a growth uptick. Some of my counterparts that are running associations in Georgia and other parts of the nation aren't so fortunate to be in an industry like ours. We see a lot of our companies that are still growing, and we like to think that TAG makes a contribution to that. So a couple of things that we're really proud of, and for the listeners, some people that are new and don't know TAG as well as you and I do, Frank, we started out in 98 as an organization that wanted to be a good networking organization for the most part and provide some opportunities to celebrate and recognize the technology community. And we did a good job at that, and we grew into that role and really began to own, as you mentioned in your introduction, the connecting space. So we feel like we're the chief connector of the technology community and do that in a number of ways, which we'll talk about. But as time has gone on, we have matured as an organization and got much more involved in being an economic development engine for the state as well. And a couple things that we've added over the last few years. One is an effort to focus on legislation that's going to make Georgia a tech-friendly state. And the one that we added at the beginning of last year was a technology evangelist, our PR director, Becky Biggs, who's focused on helping us to promote Georgia as a leading technology state, which was definitely a void in Georgia. So those are a couple things that we've added.
Trying to remember, but the number of impressions is in the millions, I think, isn't it?
200 million, over 200 million impressions.
Absolutely amazing. And, one of the things that we've talked about so many times is that the industry is the best-kept secret simply because we didn't really have the capability of getting a greater voice out beyond the community itself, and now we're achieving that in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, it's fun to be walking through the airport and see the banners up that say "Technology Where Georgia Leads" and have the governor kick off that effort earlier.
Well, talk a little bit about that, because that's a whole other. You mentioned just in passing about the evolution into economic development. Economic development is going through a huge transformation, and having a partner with such industry depth of knowledge and networking and expertise, and now even a voice, has led to actually support in a marketing and advertising outreach, as well as actually working with some of the state and city economic development organizations.
Well, specifically to the billboards, and we have one on the highway and a number of them at the airport, we figured that there would be companies that would want to partner with us to promote their company and their industry and create a win-win situation, and that's actually happened. So people listening in, if you have a company that wants to participate in that, let us know. We've worked a friendly deal in respect to the cost, and it's a way to get the word out there. But we've come up with a number of ways or kind of around this Where Georgia Leads theme, and we've identified 7 industries where we're in the top 5, and either more than emerging, but definitely in a leadership position. And so we've created business maps around each of those. We're now putting together a kit that we've just completed for executives to take out of town. We've got the billboards up. We're in the midst of working on a video in this area. So we're doing a number of things that will promote the technology industry. And you and I have talked about this, Frank, but even in Georgia, people don't know that we actually have a strong technology industry. They think more of agriculture, and which is obviously strong and important here. But we need to understand in the state where we lead, so we can communicate that out, and we need a lot of partners to do that.
Well, and I would also, just to clarify to some of our listeners, certainly our members know, but that the Where Georgia Leads has got a lot of depth and breadth. I mean, when we talk about quote-unquote maps, what TAG has accomplished is identifying a cluster of a number of leaders and small to medium-sized enterprises in each one of these 7 verticals, and then actually created a visual example of that by way of these cluster maps that, while they're, I'm sure, good locators and identifiers of various companies, from an image standpoint, when you look at it, you begin to realize if you're part of that industry, hey, we have an industry. This is pretty impressive. Health IT, for example, or FinTech, just to name a couple, where we've seen just over the last few months, even the actual individuals, the companies that were involved in it, I guess you could say were somewhat insular, but as they began to have these meetings and summits and then to begin to recognize how many counterparts and how deep their industries were, the verticals were, as far as the state was concerned, began to really stand up and say, hey, we are a group and compete not only locally, regionally, but in fact globally,
And that helps with the recruitment and
sure.
keeping companies here. So if you're in the payment processing business, where I understand that over 80% of payment processing in the United States flows through Georgia, you're going to want to be here to do that. So we need to get that word out, and it'll help us to sustain and grow the companies that are here, and then recruit companies to come in that are in those vertical industries.
There's so many things that you've begun over the last couple of years that are beginning to really get traction, beginning to really even mature out. Certainly, I mentioned in the introduction the Science and Tech Commission. We talked a little bit about the Where Georgia Leads. Maybe go into even, for example, what's going on with STEM and the TAG Foundation.
We've created, for those that don't know, we've created an organization that used to be called the TAG Foundation, and actually started before my time. So
I dated myself by calling it the TAG Foundation.
Well, that was the beginning, and it was a goal of helping to get kids involved and motivated to participate in science, technology, engineering, and math. And when TAG became strong enough to support the foundation at the time in greater ways, we took a look at it and we said we first of all need to bring on a full-time executive, and now we have our second executive that's actually in the seat. We changed the name to TAG Education Collaborative, and we're beginning to expand some of the programs and services in that area. So we have a web challenge competition that where kids can actually in high school can work to create a website, and the short of it is they could end up with a partial college scholarship. This summer we placed 60 interns in companies that were rising high school seniors. That was double the number we placed the year before, and these are kids that have a propensity towards STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and we hope that there could be some stickiness there once they have another experience in a real company where they're going to go on the 2-year or 4-year post-grad in those disciplines. And so those are some things that we're doing. And our big new thing for 2012 is TAG Education Link. By the way, the organization is now called TAG Education Collaborative, and still the same similar mission. And TAG Ed Link will basically connect our member companies and people in those member companies to the schools and kids in the schools. So we're hoping that the schools will utilize, let's say if they need a speaker or if they need want to go on a field trip to see a company that performs in these particular areas, that they can go to a website and make that connection, and somebody on the company side will say, yeah, we can fill that role, and do it mostly through the internet. So that's something that we're working on today.
Well, and we mentioned the societies. You've got over 30, I think 30. It's hard to keep track anymore. They're multiplying.
30, as of today, we have 30. Typically we get calls pretty much now once a month at least from somebody that wants to talk about starting a new society. But we're really pleased with the 30. And, in fact, this Thursday, January 5th, there's a society showcase that already has 350 people registered. So it'll be a great kickoff. And for those listeners that want to learn more about the societies, that's the place to do it, because all 30 of them are going to have tables, and people will be able to go around and meet the leaders of those groups. And also there'll be a number of prizes people can win by visiting the tables.
Now, we mentioned Savannah. We've got a chapter in Savannah. We've got green gardening, economic gardening that's still going on. Talk a little bit about the outreach from a statewide standpoint and the chapter in Savannah, and maybe tell us a little bit of insight, if you can share it with us at this point, about what you see in the future as far as some of that expansion in other cities.
Well, we are the Technology Association of Georgia, so again, as we became strong enough, we decided that we wanted to do more outside of the metropolitan Atlanta area. We needed to do that with fiscal prudence and responsibility, because in some of these areas there's not enough critical mass to open up a TAG-like operation. But we're doing that in Savannah now. It's called TAG Savannah, and we're getting some traction there. Ultimately, we want to have a full set of services for that area, and we're partnering with a number of supporters, including the Savannah Economic Development Authority, Georgia Tech, and the federal government's giving us some funding. It's pretty much unheard of, but they're giving a second-year funding for us to carry on the program, and it's the Economic Development Administration, the EDA. It's that part of that program, and so we're have a foothold there. We have a full-time staff person there, and now we're looking to see what we can do in addition to that. There's a couple things that we're planning for 2012. First of all, there'll be chapters, if all goes well, in Augusta and the Macon, Warner, Robins area. And the chapters will be volunteer-driven, similar to what a society might look like. So one of our staff, Heather Miner, is working on establishing those. And they've already had some preliminary meetings and some really good response to this. So we're confident that this will go. And as time goes on, as these two chapters emerge and evolve, then we'll look at establishing other chapters around the state. Additionally, people can also join membership now from any part of the state, and we have webinars. And, of course, Frank, you and I work on a number of the big events together, and we always encourage people and companies from other parts of the state to vie for honors, whether it be the Business Launch Competition or being a top 40 technology company or participating in the Excalibur Awards or Spirit of Endeavor. So all those things are available to companies anywhere in the state, and our goal is to get the word out on programs like this so that people know that they can jump in and participate.
You know, you'd have to completely understand over the number of years. I can remember when we couldn't do 5 minutes as far as a review and perspective, and now I think we need to do a 3-part series or something because there's so much to talk about. We've got to talk about the 2 major events that you talk about, or 3, and that's the Georgia Technology Summit, which obviously we had a super successful one in 2011, but we've also beginning to build momentum and planning on one for 2012. But you've got the Excalibur Awards, and of course now with Tech America in collaboration, the Spirit of Endeavor. Touch upon those and how important they are in terms of the overall strategy.
Well, it is important. It's nice to have the big events to bring our community together, and also around this theme of celebration and recognition. Actually, we've quietly been building a number of recognition programs between Big Tag, the corporation, and then the society. So this year we'll have 10 celebration recognition events. A couple of big ones we'll talk about, but just to mention that also the Health Summit, Health IT Summit, the FinTech Symposium, SSA Impact Awards, the TAG Marketing, Tech Marketing Awards. They're all part of the program as well. I just touched on a few of them. But our biggest event, the one coming up in the near future, is our Georgia Technology Summit, which we held at the Cobb Galleria on March 28th. And typically we'll have 1,200 people attend. We'll have some top speakers. We recognize the top 40 innovative technology companies there. Also, I get a chance to talk about the state of the industry, and we give out the Hall of Fame Award. So it's all around innovation and technology and how it's going to make a difference, or in this case, a brighter future for the state. And so we're looking forward to that. And then later in the year, in October, we have the Excalibur Awards. It'll be tentatively set for October 26th. We're trying to find a final venue for that right now. And that's where we recognize companies that utilize technology to create an ROI, and that's a growing program. Last year we had over 450 people at that event. And then later in the year there'll be the Spirit of Endeavors Awards. That's scheduled for December 6th, and it's pretty close. We just had that program, and it was a nice success, and also a growing program for TAG. So those are 3 of the main ones. For those that are looking for more of the fun events, we're still going to have the Tag It Golf Tournament, which typically sells out. That's going to be on September 10th. And then we have the Vine event, which supports Tag Education Collaborative, on October 18th. And then we're going to throw a bowling tournament in there. And we have the Techie 5 and 10K Run Walk, which is October 6th. So there's never a dull moment at TAG. There's a lot of things going on.
Well, you know we talk about a microcosm of a democracy, and the power of a single vote and the importance of voting and elections and those kind of things. When to hear you describe the activities, what you're talking about is the power of a single member, because that's what builds these things. What allows all of the things to happen that you're talking about are the individual members, the company members, and obviously the incredible support that you have with your board of directors and a lot of our key sponsors that are stakeholders in making all of these things happen. And so I think anyone that is a member that's listening can really, if not to imply they're not already proud to be a TAG member, I think it's really something where you can, in fact, I don't know if there's any place I go anymore where I don't say Technology Association of Georgia, where the eyes don't light up and they don't already recognize, quote unquote, the brand as having a dominance and a significant role as far as not only the networking aspect, not only growth that we've talked about, but obviously the economic impact. Obviously, we're running out of time. We've gone longer than our usual set does on these Tech Talks, but we couldn't leave without talking about some things as far as, you mentioned several as far as events are concerned. 2012, obviously more of where Georgia leads, a lot of growth in the areas that you've already talked about in terms of building on the momentum that you've already created. Any new initiatives that we haven't really described?
We probably should do another interview on this, Frank, but I would just say that we are in the midst of another strategic planning process, another 3-year strategic planning process, and a few things have come to the fore here that I should at least touch on. One is we want to focus more on executive to executive connection. So we already have the CIO roundtables. We're thinking of starting some other roundtables for other groups that want to come together either in an NDA format or in another type of a format. So we're excited about expanding that. Also, just our role in thought leadership, both as an organization, but also tapping into our membership and our board members and our leadership council to continue to take on a role in a proactive fashion to be a thought leader, talking about the industry and being represented not just in our state but nationally and globally. And that leads me to another initiative. I'm fortunate to be the chairman of something called Technology Councils of North America for the next 2 years, and we have counterparts in Canada and all over the U.S. And in fact, we've opened it up globally this year. And so we're going to be working to get our word out in terms of Georgia technology through networks like that, and also to coordinate with the other organizations to harness the power of the group to be able to communicate and convey information that people will be interested in. For example, what better organization to take a leadership role, and what's the mood of the technology industry? Because together, TECNA, our Technology Council of North America, there's over 20,000 members. So that's an area that we'll be focused on. Again, we're going to expand around the state, and also we're going to continue to focus on operational excellence. And of course, you mentioned the membership programs that we have, and you're right, members and sponsors are the fuel that drives the engine, and we're going to continue to grow our Premier program that's now over 150 companies. And
now, just quickly, you touch upon there's so many things that have such depth and breadth that are important, but the Premier program is really allows a member who wants to take a more aggressive posture, wants more activity, wants more access, to have that. So there's actually an upgrade in the relationship that you can have with TAG by saying, I'm ready to stand up and do more. I want to make a commitment to get more involved, so I want to, quote-unquote, be a Premier member. This started, 2 years ago maybe?
2 years ago. Yeah.
And you're already up to 100 and, would you say?
153.
Amazing.
Yeah, and if companies aren't involved with that, you're right, there's some good benefit to that because, first of all, everybody in the company can participate, and it's a one-stop shop, so people come into their door that are employees and say, hey, I want to get involved with this or that. Well, between TAG's 30 societies and our 8 affiliate partners, pretty much they can get anything they want within the organization. Secondly, they can build their brand and their own credentials within the company and within the organization. So there's free postings on the job board. There's contribution that anybody that joins Premier makes to TAG Education Collaborative and a number of other benefits. So people should contact me if they want to talk about that program, and we can get them in touch with the right people here.
Well, again, unfortunately, we're running out of time. There's so many other things, as you were talking about. I was thinking about just this year alone. I know that several academic institutions, universities and colleges have joined, not only for their own best practices and networking purposes, but to get access for their students to be able to participate in some of the TAG activities. So the ripple effect, the hybriding of what you started out trying to do is now building on other things, and also the collaboration. The fact that, in a way, TAG has no competition because it doesn't choose to compete. It opens its doors to everybody to collaborate and to cross-communicate and for the greater good of the economic development of the state. I guess the best thing that we can do in terms of time right now, T, would be to say, obviously, tagonline.org is, if you are a member, you certainly know how important that location is as far as general information, updates, PR releases, announcements of different events and activities. Obviously, there's Tag Think, which is a incredible social media, probably one of the more advanced social media collaboration and communication platforms that I can think of. And in our own little way, we like to hope that contribute with Tag TV and Tag Radio as another form of outreach and communication. But the most important thing, I think, for the messages today is if you are a Tag member and are involved, that's great. If you're not, you want to get more involved, you can get a lot more involved. We mentioned the Society Showcase coming up later this week. That's one way to begin to expand your understanding of what opportunities lie out there. Tino, again, tagonline.org, best place to start. Obviously, if anyone wants to reach out to you, you're probably one of the most accessible CIOs, presidents that I know of, that your door is always open to anyone that wants to get more information or assistance.
Well, Frank, thanks for your time today, and thanks for all the support that Global Speak has given over the years. It's a great company, and you've done a terrific job with it, and we really feel honored to be a partner in Tag Radio and Tag TV and many of the other things that you and I work on together. Well,
you're kind, and I guess for our listeners and for everyone, a Happy New Year and a great 2012. Best of to a new future.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.